asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best?
This is Discover Crypto, and I am DZ's uglier brother, Druth, coming to you live. We have some big developments happening with the Federal Reserve this morning, but I'm joined with my wonderful cohort, my co-host, Kelly Kellum. How you doing, my man? Good morning to you.
Well, you know, I'm doing great. I was going to cook some breakfast, but they lied to me. The people that make the pans, they lied about the veracity of how good those pans are. So I'm not going to cook today, but I think we're going to be diving into a little bit of what Lisa Cook may or may not have lied about, and how it may affect what's going on with the markets, with the Fed, and the circus that is the U.S. government.
It's been crazy. You know, we have had some actually kind of surprising developments. We have new allegations coming of a third house now in this mortgage fraud being alleged that Lisa Cook took part in rather. So let's get into all of it. Make sure you guys are following me and Kelly here. Pull up it on the screen. This is Druth at Druth Crypto, and obviously Kelly Kellum, BitLab Academy. Always working hard, man. Always working hard. So make sure you're following us. Also Discover Crypto. Now, here is the big news, Kelly. We have Trump Housing Director Pulte lodging a new criminal referral to Fed Governor Lisa Cook. It's absolutely insane, the background of this story. Why is Atlanta always involved? I don't know, but let's look into the details here. Federal Housing Finance Agency Director Bill Pulte is also on the board of Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, said that he filed a second criminal referral against Federal Reserve Board Governor Lisa Cook. All right, there's Lisa Cook right there. New allegations relate to a property Cook owns in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and her government ethics filings about various real estate holdings. Pulte has acted as an attack dog for Trump in his efforts to get the federal chair, Jerome Powell, to actually cut interest rates. Kelly, the markets, I mean, we're not falling off the edge of a cliff right now, but things a little bit testy. We're coming back down. We're feeling a little bit testy today. I was warning yesterday about trading into this environment. Honestly, we're about 6 minutes away from just the actual hearing taking place. And as it sits right now, I don't see any live video coverage of this hearing. It looks like it'll just be monologues and kind of reactions to this. But here's what we know so far. All right. So the Federal Housing Agency, Bill Pulte, the director, on Thursday night said that he had filed a second criminal referral, right? And he's been all over her. He's got this post. You can follow him at Pulte on Twitter here, U.S. Director of Federal Housing. Today, the U.S. Federal Housing sent second criminal referrals in the matter of Lisa D. Cook related to mortgage on a third property, not just the two that we've been talking about so far, but a third property, misrepresentations about her properties in the U.S. government. Now, when this really all kicked off, Kelly, I was, seeing the discrepancy, and really what we see happening right now is you could quantify it as political jockeying, posturing, fighting for lower interest rates by any means necessary. But there are some pretty interesting things that Lisa Cook has done that have gotten her in this hot seat. Kelly, is this political theater to you? Like, do you think that there's actually going to be criminal charges eventually be brought against a federal governor?
Well, I go back to just looking at the clown show that we've seen. I mean, for the entire time that I've been alive, really, but all of us are getting more and more tuned in. We're more aware because of social media, and also just the facts and the misrepresentation of facts, right? So again, I want to say neutral on this in terms of political ideation of one side versus the other. But when we look at what happened over the last, several years in terms of how Trump was prosecuted and some of the manner and some of the charges they were basically trying to leverage onto him and the very regular and consistent discourse, no one is above the law. And yet we're seeing this play out, not just with the mortgage fraud, but also with what we see. I think Adam Schiff is also potentially in the hot seat, but we also have Nancy Pelosi, who is just somehow the best trader on the planet, AKA inside information. So I think they really need to hold true to that term. No one is above the law.
Yeah, I mean, and let's read on here to really get the full scope of things, because this is going to be some political posturing, but also a lot of lawfare that we need to be in the know what the heck's going on here. So Pulte said in that X post, this new referral relates to her mortgage for a condominium in Cambridge, Massachusetts, as represented. This is the third property involved in these potential fraud allegations now being leaked out. 3 strikes and you're out, Pulte tweeted, as he's referring this to the Department of Justice now. He's post included images of a letter to Attorney General Pam Bondi and top DOJ official Ed Martin here, laying out allegations against Cook. Our referral implicitly addresses arguments that Trump does not have the power to legally remove Cook from the board for cause, right? This is the big deal. This is the big sticking point. A lot of people have been talking about if this gives Trump the for cause reason to not only fire Cook, but then see the pushback that we're seeing so far from the Federal Reserve and Cook with her counter lawsuits. And then you are left with, if the judges and the courts end up finding Cook actually guilty of this, the huge question was, can Trump remove Jerome Powell for a for cause reason of neglect, right? This is Pulte in his criminal referral moving forward against Cook. And this is highlighting the time frame Cook sued Trump as well, asking a federal judge in Washington, D.C. to block the president from his unprecedented move and to boot her from the central bank. This is so crazy. This is so...
Well, you know, I think it's, I do want to give some credit where credit's due. I think Jerome Powell has been in one of the most interesting time periods to be a Fed chair that we've seen, with the, you know, the follow on of COVID, with the mass money printing, the, you know, massive injection that money went to consumers, right? It wasn't just like money and buybacks of assets, which is a lot of times where you see money printing sort of trickle in, which is why you see a lot of money printing showing dramatic effect in the inflation or the ascent of prices and assets. In this case, we saw massive money injection that went direct to consumer. And so we saw a very, very, very fast spike in the cost of everything that we do in life. It has never been the 2 or 3% like they're saying. I mean, you and I have talked about this. It's, you know, we've seen things that we spend money on a regular basis that they've taken out of these reports, like coffee and like gas and like housing and all these things that truly affect Americans. So Powell's had to sort of thread this needle of terrible inflation, but also trying to keep jobs numbers. So I think he's actually done a relatively good job. I think it's becoming more political lately because everybody else is cutting. And, you know, we're getting to the point now where we are seeing a weakness in the jobs numbers. I do think that they do need to cut. And I think it comes back to the Lisa Cook thing, getting back towards the Fed governors. It's not just Powell. There's a number of other Fed governors. So I think he's trying to get a bit more people on his side. But is he doing it maliciously? I don't know. Is what Lisa Cook did for cause? I mean,
let's dig into that. Let's dig into that. Let's actually dig into exactly what for cause means. What the hell are we talking about? So, and why did I mention Morgan versus US? The case of Morgan, Morgan versus US often refers to the Morgan cases, key decisions in 298 US 468. And this is 1936 when this happened. A landmark Supreme Court ruling on administrative due process under the Fifth Amendment established a quasi-judicial administration proceeding, such as the rate setting, yada, yada, yada. The full hearing. In the context, the current mortgage fraud, in relevance to this case, Morgan versus U.S., the fraud allegations against the Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook, this is all, again, highlighted and stemming from Bill Pulte, who's, you know, a U.S. federal housing director that is leading up this charge. She falsely designated 2 properties, yada, yada, yada. But this relates to Morgan versus U.S. indirectly supporting the argument in her lawsuit, essentially challenging President Trump's attempts to remove her, right, for the for cause reason. And this is where that for cause has been clarified. Now, they have to find that she had malicious intent. That's the thing, is they have to find that she had malicious intent, that she knowingly did this clerical error, knowing that it was going to financially benefit her. Now, between the two properties that were originally mentioned, there's only a $10,000 to $20,000 discrepancy. Now we're adding in a third.
But this goes back to honestly, I feel bad for the Republicans and I feel terrible for Democrats because I think Democrats made this bed. Unfortunately, whether you like to hear that or not, the maliciousness in the ways that they went after Trump in the last year, actually it's like the last 5-6 years, but progressively, especially going over his commercial properties and all that trumped up air, making him a felon because it's a whole dog and pony show. And so now they created this opportunity. Now it's like, oh, okay, nobody's above the law. Okay, all my stuff got thrown out, but now here's the actual true fact. We see Lisa Cook just applied for 2 mortgages in a 2-week period with 2 different houses, listing them both as a primary residence. That is not a clerical error, because you have to think about when you're checking those boxes, is this or is this not? Because it does have impact on your mortgage, on your cost of those, the interest on those houses based on what you're selecting.
Yeah. And, the markets are not liking what they're seeing, right? The markets are not liking what they're seeing right now. I did get, I'm getting in. I got the meeting ID and I called in. TJ dropped me the meeting ID and the information. Actually get this hearing live on the show here. Because as I said, it's not visual, right? So we got the meeting. I'm calling in. I'm typing in the numbers here. Kelly, the markets are not liking what they're seeing. So as I'm typing all this information in, can you kind of dive into what you're seeing on the charts? I mean, we've had some bumps in the road, should I say?
Yeah, let's look at it. And again, everybody, for people obviously discover crypto, this is about crypto. Why have we been talking about the Fed and the political policies and all this? Because we just entered the world stage with the acceptance of everything we're seeing, the legislation that's passed, it, administration being on the empowering side of the crypto ecosystem. And now with the rate cuts, that's going to affect potential rate cuts, I should say, that will dramatically affect the risk on or risk off perspective. And what's happening right now with Lisa Cook, I think, is especially in the crypto market, a bit of a dog and pony show, because I don't think it doesn't matter to me about rate cuts for Bitcoin. If we don't get rate cuts, and maybe even if they hiked rates, which I'm not saying they will, this all builds a stronger case for Bitcoin. So in the near term, there's still a lot of risk on, risk off trading because people don't understand this yet with Bitcoin. And so with the shakeup at the Fed and with the shakeup of what we're seeing with Lisa Cook, it's just causing a little bit of uncertainty about what the directionality is going to be here. And we're seeing a bit of a sell-off. And this is something on the BitLab Academy show, earlier this week. We looked at the bullish divergence that came in right at this level on this lower lows, and we have flat, slightly higher lows on the RSI and the money flow. We called for a likely bounce, and I specifically called out, watch for a potential rejection at this downtrend resistance line. And regardless of the Fed, regardless of the news, regardless of all that, the chart was telling us what direction it was going to go, what area to watch, and a potential, breakdown from there. And this is what we got. We're coming back down. Currently, we're kind of in a double bottom territory as it stands. We have to see how this plays out. If it does wash out a little bit lower, it wouldn't shock me to come down into this sort of 105K region, potentially a little bit lower, but we are now below the short-term holder cost basis, which just signals a little bit more of a, I don't want to say scary, but a little bit more concern. You need to be a little bit more nuanced about how you're making moves here. I'm only a net buyer at these levels. And if it goes lower, it's just a better price. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, I got a question from Joe. Can Tron go down like Terra Luna? Honestly, man, I've seen crazy things happen. I'm thinking Tron is pretty steady. It's, Justin Tron has been around for longer than most in crypto. Is that his name?
Justin's son.
Justin's son. I call him Justin Tron. It is what it is. But I think he's pretty steady. Now let's look at, so we see a lot of political jockeying. Honestly, it's giving us that turbulence on the charts back to, some support levels that we did expect. Things worth noting here. And, I'm kind of getting an itchy finger on the potential longs here, seeing those old school previous high levels just now being tapped here that you're looking at on Ethereum. Kelly, we are tapping a very, very I mean, this is almost hillbilly TA right now. Is that about to see at least a dead cat bounce from here? Because we've had the sell-off into market open this morning so far. What are your thoughts on that? Is this more downside potentially for Ethereum, digging into those old $3,000 levels, or could we potentially be seeing a short-term bounce here?
Well, I mean, I would be watching for, if we move down here, I'd be watching for, and this does look kind of like an M formation, double tops ish formation. We had bearish divergence coming into this from this point here to here, and the RSI is flat while the price was much higher. If this is a 3-day chart, if this were to spill down a little bit further, I'd be watching for what happens at basically just above the 4,000 level. And if we lose that, then, coming back down to potentially test back into this golden pocket, in my opinion, I called for this about 2 weeks ago. Coming into September, I'm watching for chop, some moves like this in the market. So if we do move down, I'm not convinced this means we're just going to go like that. I think any move down here that is above this golden pocket, anything down here, I think is more of a bear trap that will slightly do something like that. But what I'm more interested in is the ETH to Bitcoin pairing. I shared this on my show yesterday, and that this downtrend, this is all the way since September 2022. This is ETH to Bitcoin. This has been in a downtrend that melted to the downside. And on this move here, everybody's like, we're back. It's all good. And this has been good. That's, the altcoin market woke up a bit. However, look at the resistance that we came into right here. What is this resistance? The same downtrend resistance we've had since September 2022. And it has not yet broken out of that. So for me, the alt move that everybody's waiting on, I don't think has anywhere happened yet, because until we get above this and really clear above this level here, we're not really in any sort of uptrend except for on the smaller term timeframes, like the 4-hour chart. Oh, okay, 4-hour bull trend. Great. I want to see a 3-day bull trend. I want to see a weekly bull trend. The next level up that we really got to watch is going to be up here, because this is a multi-year trend line going back to 2017. So this is going to be the interesting zone. As it stands right now, I would be just a little bit cautious following what happens today, and then as we move closer to the FOMC meeting. But the PCE data we got this morning also showed that we're still kind of falling in line with the expectations. So we just need to see how the cookie crumbles.
And what's happening today, dude? I mean, this is actually, we think about the Trump preferred candidates, right? Think about the preferred candidates to replace Jerome Powell that would actually probably fall closer in line to multiple insane rate cuts that Trump has been calling for. And I do kind of want to dive into what a Trump takeover of the Fed might actually look like, because we know that Jerome Powell is getting replaced regardless. Like when it comes to, I believe the time frame is May 2026, Donald Trump and the rest of the decision makers in government, they're going to, on a normal time frame, be replacing Jerome Powell. So there are some people that have been mentioned as potential picks for this. But I want to read into just a larger article, grander scheme of things, really get a feel for what we actually might be looking here. So I'll pull this down. We're going to swap it on out, and we're going to go in here. So let's get this, Kelly. Now, a Trump takeover the Fed. It's been talked about, Trump is not shy about wanting to just absolutely hammer interest rate cuts, right? He's not shy about going for that at all. This is his look of determination, too. I mean, look. This is the look of a guy that might actually get what he wants. Now, what does this mean? Now, in general, this gives historical context, and I really want to take this piece by piece. As a keen observer, the cross currents hitting the Federal Reserve right now, there are two currents that are beginning to erode federal independence. The idea of an independent Federal Reserve, independent from political influence, has been embedded and flowed over the years. During World War II, the Fed was entirely subservient to the Treasury and was not independent by any means. It existed only to fund the war and ensure treasuries were well bid. In 1951, the Fed Treasury Accords formally established that Fed as an independent, and the Treasury was separate. Therefore, the executive branch, and that's kind of, Scott Bessent, he's happy in his position as the Treasury Secretary right now. A lot of people have been talking about Bessent coming in and replacing Jerome Powell. I'm really doubting that. In the 1970s, Chair Paul Volcker solidified independence by hiking rates to tame inflation, despite pressures from the president at the time, right? Okay, so we have someone even showed up to the Federal Reserve building with a loaded gun, tried to stop them from raising rates. in the 40 years since, we've seen a steady secular downshift in interest rates in peacetime for the Fed. And now that era is changing. President Trump, referring to his own nominees on the Federal Board of Governors, saying Tuesday that we'll have a majority very, very shortly. And there's a list of candidates that are likely to be chosen as those replacements. We have Christopher Waller here, the Fed governor, Trump's 2020 appointee, economist from St. Louis, Fed Research. He's got a good, spreadsheet accreditations. He matches the bill. Kevin Warsh, a former Fed governor from 2006 to 2011, youngest Fed governor ever under Bush and Obama, Wall Street veteran, executive of Wall Street, obviously. And then Kevin Hassett, the National Economic Council director, currently, obviously, under Trump's current administration. These are the top three names that are being looked at: Christopher Waller, Kevin Warsh, and then Kevin Hassett. A lot of Kevins going on here. And then you have Scott Bessent in number 4. But like I said, he's a Secretary of Treasury. He said he's happy in his position. Not likely to see Scott Bessent take this position, but a Trump takeover and being able to apply political pressure in this current stage that the markets are in right now is very, very similar to the pressures that were created in the 1970s, then translating into 80s stagflationary event that everyone is so scared is coming on the horizon. Now, this Trump wants to fire Fed Governor Lisa Cook, but there's a lot more to his takeover plan. I'll just have a quick listen to this. Actually, I'm interested to just hear this take here, because this is a fascinating game of financial master chess going on right now. So let's have a listen to this from Q-Thon, just real quick.
What I wanted to talk about actually is there's this interesting aspect to the Fed that probably Trump and Bessent are very clued in, but not many other people. So every FOMC meeting, there's 12 voters, 7 board governors that vote, and then 5 of 12 that rotate every year, regional bank presidents of the Kansas City and the Dallas and the Chicago and the Richmond, etc. And so there's 12 of those regional banks.
And so I want to just highlight something here. 12 regional banks and the members from those banks, the representatives from them, go into those decision-making meetings about who that next appointee is going to be. These are the same banks that represent this chart, Kelly, right? These are the same banks that represent this chart.
It's like asking a crackhead to make sure your car stays safe if you leave the door open.
Just absolutely ridiculous. The same banks that are, in decision and will likely be in lock and step with Trump on his wishes for extended rate cuts are the same banks representing the currently $400 billion in unrealized losses as of Q1 reports. This is from the FDIC Direct website. This is the real anomaly and where we're at right now, to me, the elephant in the room. But Kelly, I want to talk about kind of why are we here? Why would we be talking about cutting interest rates when we see inflation coming back, right? Can you kind of explain? We've talked about the total amount of debt that has to be refinanced. Can you kind of dive into that a little bit? Because there's a lot of misconceptions about reason and why isn't the Federal Reserve doing the reasonable thing and raising interest rates. Can you kind of dive into that for a little bit? I know we got the smartest chat in the world, but I think this is a discussion worth having.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a dual mandate. The Fed has a dual mandate. It's the labor force and inflation. And so it's been the numbers are nothing that you can look at, I think, on a historical trend analysis and say, well, based on last time, we'll do this. In this case, we're still having the carryover effects of what happened with the world economy, the entire world economy shut down in March of 2020 for COVID. Now, why are we still talking about it? It goes back to what I mentioned earlier. The massive amount of money printing that went direct to consumers then showed up in the markets. So people were buying, they were spending. And so you saw this huge inflation of cost of goods, because it was also basically the double whammy effect. We had logistic and supply chain issues. And because the world economy shut down, that means things weren't being produced and they weren't being shipped. And there's new money in the market, extra money to be spent. So you got this sort of trifecta of just issue within the inflationary aspects of the market. And
Mhm.
then everybody nobody's working. So then you get all these muddied job numbers when everybody comes back to work. It's like, hey, we added 7 million jobs. No, you didn't. People just went back to work. Okay. That's step
Right.
one. Step two is now we have all basically the hangover. We're in the midst of still the hangover from COVID, where we have all the money that was spent and the lifestyle that people were living. And now people realize, which we do not have the skill set as a culture, you got to
Mhm.
budget. You can't just spend because you have credit, because your credit then turns into debt that you cannot afford to pay. And then what happens is you have this knockdown sort of domino effect of not basically defaulting on debt, bankruptcies, and all these sorts of things that then make the debt be an obligation of the entrusting banks that were lending that money out. So that's one effect. The other effect is also the fact that now, because things are getting tight, and the labor issue is starting to become an issue, where the numbers never seem to be accurate. We saw with Biden, the numbers were revised down like 1.5 million. So that was a crock, and you think it had something to do with the Biden administration. But then you see now with the Trump administration, they just revised those numbers down again, 250,000. So it feels like the federal government, all these people providing the data, want to just keep their jobs or something because they're not providing the accurate data. We need to take a hard look at the issues that are really here, because the Fed, at the end of the day, the Fed is just a product. And I saw, everybody's posting we should end the Fed. At the end of the day, the Fed is just the symptom of bad risk management from not only institutions, but also retail traders. You look at the stock market crash in 1929, and I just basically really dove into this last couple of weeks. You know why the stock market crashed in 1929? It wasn't because the prices were going up and this and that. It was because of margin. You think margin and leverage trading just had to do with right now with crypto and trading your Pepe coin?
It's always the trader's fault, man.
No, the retail market and investment bankers were trading basically 10x leverage on everything. They're spending $10 to get $100 worth of value. And there's basically just this machine of media, and everybody we want to get rich too. And everybody was pumping it up. And so you see this massive wash down when one thing fails. Now they can't pay this person. And then now that, it's basically just spiders out. And so the Fed is trying to stem a worse situation, but that comes with sort of a control that I think everybody's realizing we don't want to see. But the side effect of that is, or the other side of that coin is, without the Fed, great, let's have no Fed. But you know what? Every one of you watching, every one of my parents, your parents, ourselves, we all need to take more responsibility for our actions in the market, do better due diligence, and trade with a bit more risk understanding of what we're getting involved in. So we're not just buying because of a news story on Yahoo or some guy that tweeted it on X.
Absolutely. And with what's going on right now, this is just absolute fanfare, right? Trump taking on Federal Reserve governors. Incredible that one of the houses, of course it had to be in Atlanta, but one thing that is got to be proven is malicious intent, or knowingly, they literally have to come to the point from, this previous precedent that was sent in Morgan versus the US. What has to be proven is that she knew that she was finding those financial advantages to listing both of those residences as primary residences first and foremost. But then they almost caught her. It almost seems like they caught her because they said, okay, maybe a clerical error. But what about the number 3? And that's what we see this morning is Pulte came out with number 3, trying to pin her to the wall. It is like trying to pin Jello to the wall with a nail, though.
Here's the deal. And I want to speak to people out there that are on the side that are saying this seems egregious on the behalf of the current administration going after this. But if you really consider how important it is for the Federal Reserve, which is basically the keeper of the books of America, right? That they keep the economy going, and every decimal point matters. Every place that you mark any matter of fact thing in accounting matters exponentially. And if you're messing up, even if it is a clerical error, if you're messing up that poorly and that in a financial sense, you shouldn't be keeping and helping keep the books of America.
That's a great point. That is a great point. And now the likely outcome of today is, probably going to be viewed as a win for Lisa Cook. She has a stay. She's trying to stop Trump from enforcement. Really, it does look like today is going to be posturing. This is going to keep moving forward into courts, and it actually might last for some time. But the key takeaway here is a lot of the options, at least the key takeaway from me, a lot of the options of what's coming for a Federal Reserve chair are actually pretty in line with Trump's pro-stimulus agenda, right? A lot. Kevin Hassett, pro-stimulus. Kevin Walsh called for regime change. He's he's calling out the renovation costs, all these things. He's lining up with Trump. They're going to be walking in step with Trump, and Trump wants a ton of interest rate cuts. That's how I see it.
I do want to just bring up, though, because you put something on my radar I had no idea about. Can you talk a little bit about actually, the case that's happening right now? Because there's a judge involved. And are there any conflicts of interest in the judge that's involved in prosecuting this potential
Let's
case?
dive into it. We're going into it. We're going deep. We may as well. Okay, so this is Roger Stone. I think we've been on a show with Roger Stone a few times. Quality individual there. Wait, the U.S. District Judge that fired the Federal Reserve Board member Lisa Cook, the lawsuit referred to her. Judge Gia Cobb is Cook's sorority sister in Delta Sigma Theta sorority. Cobb must be recused. This is absolutely ridiculous. So sorority sisters, she's really going to go, just strike down her sorority sister over what her sorority sister saying is a clerical error. Oh, we got TJ up in here. I saw a wild TJ up here. I doubt that a sorority sister connection is something that we can ignore in this. That shows to me just a clear conflict of interest. I would really, really be surprised if, at least I would say Cook is cooked. I'm saying Cook is cooked. Eventually, they're going to have her on the Barbie. Okay, I think that she's actually going to get caught up in this. Will this spill over to Jerome Powell? That's where I'm actually like, no, probably not. I think Jerome Powell is fine. They actually have to find that Jerome Powell committed a crime, fraud, an egregious crime, provably, to remove Jerome Powell, right? So that is,
somebody asked earlier, they said they woke up and saw the markets and they're like, oh, it's such a frustrating market. Why is it so choppy like this? And it goes back to the question of certainty and uncertainty. While I agree, I don't want to say I agree. While I support a lot of the things that are happening with the current administration, you, as an investor, you have to understand there's a lot of lack of certainty about what comes next, because every day in this sort of reformation of the foundation of sort of our directives and the mission of the U.S. government and what they're doing moving forward, because things have changed at such a rapid pace and in a way that you can't really say this is going to be next, leaves investors to be like, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna hold off a bit. And Bitcoin's in a whole nother aspect of this because it's an emerging market. So while you might see a dip and some people are saying, is it over? I say, hey man, these are the biggest money players in the world that are getting involved now. And so they want as much of this as possible. I don't think they're letting it run away. I think they're actually causing some of this, I don't want to say manipulation, but market shaping and triggering more fear in the price action so they can get better opportunities. And actually, I want to show a chart that I have here. Where is it at? I have a chart right here. This chart right here. And this is case in point. Binance mean inflows surge from 0.8 Bitcoin to 13.5 Bitcoin since early 2024. Okay, screw all the words here. Just look at the chart. This is the inflow, the exchange inflow mean. And this is big money buying right now, while what retail is scared and they're selling. Hint, if you want to lose money, then keep buying the hype and selling the fear. Smart money is taking advantage of every one of these dips and stacking in while people are going, why isn't the market moving? It's moving in portfolios for the big money players. That's all I care about. And so I will stack preparing myself better and better for the inevitable rip that is going to come.
Well, and something that stuck with me, that TJ, he's in the background. He actually said in it, I actually kind of do agree with him here. It's that this precedent of all of these federal governors that are likely replacements for Jerome Powell and the consistent movement towards what Trump wants, the situation that the current macroeconomic economy is actually in with, hundreds of billions of dollars in unrealized losses that we're sitting on right now. I think the driving factor, and there's a reason why Bill Pulte from the housing industry, it's a $120 trillion industry, when he's calling for something, systemically to change. That when I heard Pulte peak up, months ago, that really, really caught my attention. I think there's driving factors that are cooked into more rate cuts for longer. I think that there's probably going to be a little bit of a run in risk assets into 2026 because of these decisions being made right now. And this is why it matters for the bags, my outlook. And not to mention yesterday with Chainlink, all the news with Chainlink. I don't know if I'm ever going to sell my Chainlink, Kelly. I mean, eventually I got to, but just so much long-term bullishness from me in, Chainlink, Bitcoin, and even some of this, more, I guess, risky plays, smaller market cap plays, they're really, really looking enticing with this, kind of easing outlook on the horizon right now. It's got me very, very bullish. Got me almost wanting to be shopping out there for crypto, but I'm actively trading, seeing this pullback right now. It is pretty substantial. We've broken, and this is kind of the target I was actually talking. Jeez Louise, look at that. This is the target I built out yesterday.
No, they've been going for almost 40 minutes.
So this is actually this is coming right to the moment where I was saying we were going to fall to yesterday. That's kind of crazy, Kelly.
Yeah,
we're getting ready to actually go live with DZ as well. I think he's going to be joining us here in a second, but we are coming back down to ranges that, by God, they could be acting as support. And when you really back up on this market, God, it's so crazy. We've been pumping. We've fallen down to these original zones right here, Kelly.
yeah.
I mean, it was kind of a gimme. It was the hillbilly trade. Now on the weekly, we've had a good pullback in terms of Bitcoin price. Nice reset. We're getting the VWAP down to the lower echelon here. And this is kind of what I look for in terms of trading, because I never like buying green candle, especially on leverage. But if I can see the market kind of flush and reset, this is where I get much more active in trading, and it's got me pretty excited. I've been watching some new projects, but honestly, man, I almost feel like just buying more Chainlink. After yesterday's news, I just feel like I don't have enough Chainlink. I mean, does anyone have enough Chainlink?
I agree with you there, and I think I said it to you yesterday. You were, I don't know if it's you or TJ, but I think it's gotten to the point now where the three altcoins, the three coins that I would be willing to hold longer term are Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Chainlink. Chainlink, I think, has fully substantiated itself as a blue chip coin, with the nod of what they're doing, not only with the Department of Commerce yesterday and that acknowledgement, but also with a lot of the legislation that just came out around the Clarity Act, around the Genius Act, what's going on with stable coins, the fact that the proof of reserves is going to be one of those things that's going to be baked in, that's going to require the integration of Chainlink. And that's just on that side of stuff. Then you look at all of the connectivity that it brings to the crypto ecosystem, in addition to bridging connectivity of the TradFi and Web 2 system into the Web 3 blockchain world. So I think Chainlink is I think it's probably the most undervalued coin in the crypto ecosystem right now. I can't imagine. Think about Dogecoin, which I'm not hating on Doge, but Dogecoin got up to nearly $80 billion market cap, and Chainlink is sitting down here, in the small 5 digits. I think there's a lot of room to grow here as this rolls out, and that's not to mention what's going on with November with their fees rolling live. And what we're going to see as we push into 2026.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cascade of news. It makes me too bullish. I can't stop myself from being so bullish. It really, I see. It's going to be funny listening to the people talk about the market's over. It's basically just developing staircase steps up into the right. It's going to be a pretty substantial pullback to be able to invalidate kind of what's going on. S&P 500, it hit new all-time highs yesterday. Like, this market is not done with risk appetite. It's just a little bit of a breather. And I think actually something that was mentioned on this channel yesterday is playing out, where it might have been just a little bit of a cool off moment needed. Bitcoin dominance is something we also got to pay attention to in terms of alt season. Is alt season real? Are birds real? You let me know in the chat. Are birds even real? But Bitcoin dominance, we are trying to bounce. We're trying to bounce right there at about 57.7% held up. This has been a very, very strong pullback. Honestly, like, this is kind of the initial signal that I was really looking for to get that juice into alts. Bitcoin to take a breather, dominance to fall back just a bit. And now, hopefully we've done, I mean, and so far, honestly, nailed it. Aerodrome, Morpho, so far we've been good, and I feel good about that. But on the other side, you just never know. Let's get TJ in here. How you doing, TJ?
I'm doing good. Sorry I wasn't quite ready earlier, and then I probably talked over the mic a second ago, but
It's all good.
But yeah, you guys, I just came in, heard you saying, our calls have been good and the alts are all running, and we feel, and you guys have been, you've been on point. We don't get it 100% right all the time, but definitely get it more right than the average person. So, give me the 30-second Cook TLDR, and before we run into the regular show with DZ here.
Basically, you know what? We're probably going to be looking at Cook is going to win today, probably, in the PR side, right? That's what I feel. But also, this leaves a greater outlook for heavier cuts than the market should reasonably be doing. And this brings risk assets up. It gets me very excited for not only Bitcoin, but larger markets, I think, are going to be pretty hot going into the end of this year. A lot of political tension over the macro economy, and that just leaves room for opportunity for disruptive to become a crowd. So I'm excited for crypto. I'm excited for Bitcoin.
Well, thanks for getting us going, boys. Happy Friday. Happy dip day. Let's find some discounted, some of our favorite coins. Appreciate you, Kelly. Appreciate you, Drew. And we'll see you guys later this afternoon.
Yeah, I'll be live on BitLab right after Discover. So see you guys there if you want to see some charts, and you guys take it away. I'll be tuning in.
All right. Take care. See you guys. All right. Now the man, the myth, the legend.
That is right. DZ is here. Everybody smash that like button as we're about to roll into the next stage of the show. We're going to talk about Arrow. I may have just opened along minutes ago because they were talking about it. I got bullish on it, and I might just have to close it now because I don't want to have to worry about those charts there. Also, let me go ahead and add my presence here. Let me add my screen. Major news regarding the 9 blockchains. Of course, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Chainlink. And I've seen so much misreporting on this, it's starting to piss me off. So we're going to bring you the actual factual details. Let's go ahead and look at that Aerodrome long. TJ, I think I am just going to close this. You were actually saying, I don't even know if I want to trade today. So let's just go ahead and, just take the little steak lunch here. We're just going to go ahead and close it, but we're still in the World Liberty Fund position. I wanted to show you guys this. Told you about it at 25 cents. Gave you the alpha on the live stream. We're going to be releasing a video on World Liberty Fi, and it's no longer buying at 25 cents. So in the video I bought, we told you when I'm buying. I bought live on the live stream. TJ, was that a Tuesday?
It was, today's Friday. It was 3 days ago, right?
Yeah, so we gave you the 25-cent entry. I showed you how I'm doing it in the video. If you need a little bit more help, I will walk you through all the steps on how to get your exposure to Trump's new project, because it's not available for trading. But with these little loopholes, I'll say, you can go ahead and get some exposure. So good stuff there. Now, I just posted about the Bitcoin death cross. I do want to share this death cross here. Not a lot of people are talking about this. In fact, I haven't seen anybody talking about this, but dang it, TJ, I'm going to talk about it here. The death cross is when a short-term price or moving average crosses below a longer-term moving average. When you see the inverse, the long-term going above the short-term, that will be a bullish cross, a golden cross. The death cross, typically not a good move. Bitcoin's last time they had a death cross, February 2025. So we're looking about, half a year ago. Bitcoin fell an additional 23%. And, including what they felt, it's even more. Now, 23% drawdown from here gives us an $86,000 Bitcoin. Weekly close here would also put us below the the 50-week moving average. This could very well signal the end of the bull run. In fact, I would say it will signal the end of the bull run if this validates. Now, you can see it right here. This is the 20-day moving average, this red line, crossing below this 50-day moving average. Now, we don't trust we verify, so we would go back, and you would see the last time we had the death cross right here. You see that red line crossing below the orange line. Now, we have already declined at that point. If you go to the exact moment, we'll just go to the middle of this red candle. That's already an 11% drawdown. You add everything together, 31% pullback there. So just a little bit of a warning here. I don't think this death cross is going to lead to a 23% decline, but I will be looking for a decline here. And if I had to say, well, where's the bleeding stop? I think there's a really good chance we will bounce off this 50-week moving average. Now, you can see we wicked below, and wicked below. So maybe that's why I said in the post a weekly close. So if we close below this line, very, very bearish signal, essentially means the music stopped playing.
And that's the weekly chart you're looking at there?
We've now moved to the weekly chart. So the death cross is on the daily chart, but the weekly chart gives us our bull market support, which is this 50-week simple moving average, right? Exponential moving average.
So the daily, so we'd have to close it by the end of the day, basically.
No, we have a little bit of time here. I wouldn't worry about closing below some of these moving averages. I would worry just if this 23% drawdown plays out. If that plays out, I mean, that's just kind of saying history. If history repeats or rhymes, the market's over. Go ahead and just pack it up. Go home, boys.
All right. Well,
but I'm not predicting that's going to happen. I don't think we decline 22%.
Got it. Yeah.
We'll see. Now let's look at a couple charts here. Some of these charts, God, folks, I'm giving you the entries. I'm giving you the trades. Maybe I should have left that aerodrome trade open because I've been spotting some winners here. Now, TJ, this is the crow chart. Now, you remember the megaphone pattern had been invalidated,
right?
TJ, or has it? What happens when we zoom into the 1 hour? Now, this, I don't even remember. We drew it here. So, I mean, this is November 2024. This pattern has existed for almost a year. We're talking about this pattern lately because now we're coming up to it. 1 hour chart. Look at that, TJ. Ooh. Holy you know what?
Yeah. Right down to it.
So the question is,
will it flip it to support?
For the Disco fam,
yeah.
What's the next move?
Yeah, I think it holds there. I think it does flip that into support. We were talking about this a little bit in the office yesterday, just with, it's crypto.com. It's such an easy brand. If they seem to have a leg up within the regulators in Europe. So if Coinbase, Kraken, and Gemini are here, and Binance is in the East, crypto.com is the clear winner in Europe. So alignment with Trump and other big players, I think, makes sense. They do good branding. So yeah, I think that will flip into support, but it's still not one that I like to buy or hold. Just personal preference, I guess. I'm not a big exchange coin person, but they perform well. So.
Yeah, done very well. Let's look at a couple other altcoins, ones we've been talking about. Pith. Pith did find that local top. This is on Thursday here. This is going to be Thursday evening. Still printing a little bit of those bear divs. We pointed out the first bear div around there. Still continuing to show a little bit of losing momentum in the relative strength indicator. I'm not saying it won't just wreck all the shorts and, get a little liquidity squeeze to the upside. But, just be careful if you haven't bought any Pith and you want to jump in a little bit late. Yeah, this is the great entry. I know, buy Chainlink. Pith ended up pumping a lot more. This one, I would hesitate to be buying Pith at this point. And again, I'm not saying it won't wreck the shorts, but I think any movement from this area would just be basically trapping all the liquidity areas above. So if you want to trade, maybe look at the liquidation heat map. That give you probably some pretty good targets. Other altcoin is going to be Chainlink. Chainlink, these are our patented purple rectangles that we've been looking at for a long time, just kind of looking at previous points of control, levels to pay attention to. And if we go to the 1 hour, textbook rejection on this. So if you're playing this trade there, Chainlink trying to wreck the bulls. I do think Chainlink is too bullish of a narrative for this not to reclaim and maybe get back to this $26 range. And the last chart here is going to be the aerodrome. Tell you why I opened that trade. Super, super oversold on the 1 hour. We're getting a lot of hidden divergence on the RSI on the 1 hour. I got my money. I ran. Maybe I'll look to see if this breaks down. If we go in lower, TJ, I'm going to long again. I can't help it, man. I'm a degen. I'm a chud.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, good DGen energy, and I see the comments here. Best thing about DC is you guys keep us from freaking out. Keep calm. Yeah, we've done this before. We've been in through a few cycles, so we've experienced a lot of volatility within Bitcoin and crypto. 20-30% pullbacks don't freak us out. I told you guys earlier in the week when I saw that this Cook stuff was happening today. Obviously, that's what Drew and Kelly were breaking down this morning, that we were going to see a lot of volatility. If Trump is able to get full control of the Federal Reserve Board, or at least have stronger influence over their decisions, that to me signals we will see a continued bull cycle into 2026. What does he say?
I was just reading the name of the super chat here. Thank you for the super chat there, Nikkei Milkers. TJ and DZ, you guys are heroes. Thank you for all you do. Take all my DCA monies. I appreciate that there. We do appreciate the support there. And someone saying I'm a pith hater because my ex-coworker is bullish. I don't know if you mean Nick Demondi or the other guy. I have no idea what the other guy has opinions on regarding altcoins. So you give me too much credit if you think I'm paying attention to that. Nick Demondi, I would like to know his updated pith thesis.
Yeah, I know he went heavy on pith a while back. So
yeah, he went on, remember that pith link chart a little too early on that chart, way too early. But I hope he didn't capitulate right before this pump, TJ.
Yeah,
we're hoping you diamond handed, I guess, unless you sold a long time ago. All right, let's do a couple funny memes. Warren Buffett, 100K in 1956, 2025 up to 150 billion. Those crypto guys though, 9 a.m. 100K, 10 a.m., $150. Careful with the leverage there, folks. World Liberty Fi, I'm trading 1x.
By 4 p.m., you're back at 90K, though, you know? So.
Yeah. 90K, and it's like, you're still down, but man, does that feel glorious? Does that feel like a win? Also, when you realize you want to make life-changing money in crypto, but folks, you actually have to sell. You actually have to take those profits. That's why I closed that Aerodrome trade in the profit. But I'm a degen. I want to feel something like this guy in this video. That's why we're going to jump back in. Now let's look at the rest of the markets.
I got one of those too. Sorry, I didn't mean to push yours off, but I thought this was just wild. You know, video game, basically inflation is breaking Moore's law. You've got video game consoles, you know, launch price $199, end price $99, launch price $600, end price $250. Recently, launch price $300 for a Switch. Now it's $340. You know, Xbox $500, $600. You know, it's like, this has been a law in electronics for a very long time, that the price comes down, the compute power goes up over time, and now inflation is literally breaking it since 20. You know.
Now a better question might be, now what is the chips inside the GameCube? What can you get those chips for?
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Like pennies, maybe.
Yeah.
So maybe it's like right and wrong at the same time. But I would be interested to see what kind of gains they've been having on the compute power there. All right, let's refresh. It's dumping across the board, folks. Bitcoin's down 3.8, ETH is down 5.7. Keep scrolling here. We have Tron looking relatively strong, Solana relatively strong, and BNB. We're going to talk about why BNB is outperforming the rest of the market. And Chainlink gets the world's most bullish news it's ever had in the existence of Chainlink. The Link Marines have never been more happy. They've never been in better shape. They have washboard abs. They're eating steak dinners. It's a freaking waterbed filled with feather pillows. And yet the Link Marines are asleep at the wheel. They're down. They're weak. They look like they had food poisoning and they're puking their brains out during basic training. This does not look like SEAL Team 6, TJ. This looks like the guy that stinks that's in ROTC in 10th grade.
Yeah.
Now, nothing against ROTC people. Let me take that back. ROTC people are sometimes good people, just sometimes a little socially awkward because they have weird parents. So I'm going to blame the parents on that one. But Chainlink being down today, obviously, you know, it is very bullish news what happened to Chainlink. We'll kind of just reiterate a little bit. I almost want to open a Chainlink long, TJ.
Yeah, it's probably not a bad idea. Like, again, the whole market is kind of poised and waiting for whatever's happening today. They do not like uncertainty. So yeah, whenever this settles out, I mean, this is a very good long opportunity, especially where are we at on Bitcoin right now, price wise? Is it 108 and change?
Let's look here. So we're looking at the long-term price charts. Let's go to the 5-minute, and we're going to hide these price ranges. Woo, man.
See, what's that line there? That's one we drew a while back, 108.
That
right?
might be arrows.
Oh, this is arrow.
You know, those are that was just me circling.
Gotcha.
Circling the death crosses.
A lot of people, I mean, we've been talking about 108 as a key level since last week, and if this price action we're seeing today around the Cook hearing pushes us down to those levels, yeah, I think that is a pretty safe level to long.
We're definitely showing strength on the short time frames here. Last time we had something like this, though, we continued to bleed after showing a little bit of strength, and we did another little dip to the downside and then crabbed up. So maybe expect another little dip to the downside shortly below these wicks here.
What's the good? Let me see the 4 hour.
4 hour here.
Yeah. And the RSI. Oh, there it goes. Yeah, it's kind of right in the middle.
It's semi-bullish. If this thing turns around on this candle, we still have 1 hour and 13 minutes. I mean, there's definitely time for this to turn around and be a little bit higher, even though the price is lower. So that would be technically a bull div.
If I was trading today, I would take a with decent margin a low leverage long on Bitcoin.
This is the last bull div on the 4 hours. Ended up kind of doing a fake out pump, came down, wicked lower. And then look at that 4 hour candle. So this wick right there is a perfect example of the exchanges trying to wash you out, trying to close those positions before it gigasends.
Yeah, makes sense.
Maybe that's what we'll see here.
I shared in the Discord this morning. I don't know if I can find the post, but the max pain right now is definitely towards the upside. There's a lot of shorts that get liquidated around 120 Bitcoin. So I do think we continue this washout and then go up towards the upside. You want us to look at Cosmos? Is it doing something? I sold all my Cosmos a while back, so I held it, rode it all the way through last bull market, and finally got tired. I think I sold it for Plume. So
all right, looking at Cosmos here, no clear direction in the RSI, so let's just kind of focus on the price action here. This seems like it's found some support. If I'm just going to be completely honest with you here, TJ, definitely just train along in this range. And I keep seeing higher lows. I'm seeing some higher lows, at least lately, especially on the daily chart there. So it looks like you got a nice little level of support. If I were to, come in and be a buyer or try to trade this, I would probably want to touch the trend line before I would be a buyer.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Yeah, the Cosmos, they're just their ecosystem.
I love that extra confluence.
Oh, there you go. Their governance stuff was all just couldn't get a clear direction on why would the token go up. And so from a TA perspective, that actually does, like you said, looks like it's got a pretty good bottom right there.
Yeah, I mean, look at the RSI. RSI bottomed out over here and has been putting in a couple lower entries. So this is suggesting that the market eventually wants to turn this thing around.
Yeah, interesting.
And we hit more oversold in that area right there. So yeah, Cosmos actually has some bullish signs. Now, TJ, full port back into Atom.
No, I'm not going to do that.
All right. Pause. That sounded a little odd. Samson Mao, I love this quote. I almost want to put this one on a t-shirt. On the back, it's going to say proto-dank sharding. Proto-dank sharding. That's still the best phrase here. But in the age of Bitcoin, having a financial advisor is like saying the McDonald's cashier is your nutritionist.
Yeah, I thought that was cool too.
I love that quote there. Love it. All right. Now we talked about the death cross there. Let's talk about PIF. Let's talk about the Trump administration move that they did. Let's talk about the 9 blockchains. Let's talk about the bad reporting that we're seeing. You see 18 different lists if you look at 20 different accounts. What the hell are the coins? What is going on here? What's actually real? What's not real? I feel like people are trying to sell me some snake oil here. Well, we have the facts. PIF goes parabolic, of course, as Trump administration taps the blockchain oracles for data verification. Now, this is going to be Oracle selected by the U.S. Department of Commerce to verify and distribute economic data on chain. Now, PIF was the only token to have massive gains, even though the Commerce Department confirmed quarterly GDP figures would be published across 9 blockchains. I don't even trust this list here, although I think this one is correct. Chainlink was also named alongside PIF. Chainlink as a key Oracle partner in disseminating the data. Chainlink's down 9%. PIF is pumping. Something's going on here. Now, if you don't know the Oracle, this kind of explains it. PIF is a decentralized Oracle system. They deliver real-time financial market data directly onto the blockchains. Like Chainlink, it provides infrastructure to bring off-chain data, stock prices, foreign exchange rates, commodity prices, on-chain for use in DeFi applications. And it's more than just this. You can also use it for prediction markets, verify that the Timberwolves beat the Lakers. You could verify that Tom Brady threw that interception or whomever your favorite quarterback might be. Tom Brady even playing anymore?
No, he's done.
I don't even know. All right, so this is what you're seeing. I just want to throw this up as one of the examples. Commerce data on Orb, Avalanche, Base, Botnix, ETH, Linea, Mano, Optimism, Sonic, ZK Sync. But wait, TJ, you're saying you see Tron on some and
Yeah.
Like you see, Solana on some, and
Mhm.
Solana's not on this one. Tron's. Well, where can we even go to find the data? How about straight to the source? What do we do here, TJ? We don't trust. We what?
Verify.
We verify. Go to that .gov, everybody. There's actual press releases. I'm pissed off that not enough people are actually going to the source material, just like looking at random anonymous crypto account, like, oh, Solana. Well, Solana is on there. Botnex. I don't see Botnex. But anyways, here we go. The Commerce Department, published an official hash of its quarterly GDP data, and in some cases, the top line GDP number, to these 9 blockchains: Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, Tron, XLM, Stellar, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Polygon, and Optimism. That was also using 2 oracles, Pyth and Chainlink. Now I saw like Kraken is the facilitator partner. No, it's also Coinbase, Gemini, and Kraken. And they plan on using other blockchains, oracles, and exchanges. Now we don't know what these are going to be. I'm sure there's a lot of dubious speculation. I wouldn't trust any of it because you're seeing actual facts out in the field and people are still getting the data wrong. So you expect me to believe that they're going to know what the future is going to bring without even, there's press releases and they can't even read them. And so they're going to determine what's coming. I don't buy it. I don't believe it. But these are the actual 9 blockchains here, straight from the horse's mouth, 8 altcoins and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Is anything else out there? It's fugazi, folks.
Yeah. Well, and I think part of the confusion is some of the people ran with what where Chainlink data goes currently. So it does serve probably some other layer 2. It's interesting to me. There's a handful of layer 2s there on Ethereum, Polygon, Optimism, Arbitrum. There's several other ones, Linea. And I think that's part of where the confusion comes in. If Chainlink is serving those layer 2s, it's also there. But the thing that's important is to establish the primary chains, not as much layer 2s as it is. I'm interested in the layer 1s that the US government wants this stuff pushed out on. So if Tron's on the list, Solana's on the list, Avalanche being on the list, I think is a big win for Avalanche. They really, I feel like Tron has a narrative, Ethereum has a narrative, obviously Bitcoin and Solana have narratives. Avalanche kind of has several pseudo narratives where they're not the main one, but they have the way that their architecture works actually does lend itself very well for private or public governance, government issues, voting, organization, a lot of different things you can do on the Avalanche subnets that actually architecturally network design could work pretty well for the government. They just have to win that favor in that bid, because right now it seems like it's all leaning towards Ethereum. Stellar listed as the 5th one. That one is another one that I think is a really sneaky pick. It's not that sneaky anymore because it's just been absolutely crushing.
Thank you, Negan.
What?
It's a Walking Dead character as his PFP.
Oh, gotcha. I was like,
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
I lost my train of thought. Never mind.
No, they're basically they're going to be using these blockchains and they're going to be bringing the data.
Stellar. I was talking about Stellar.
XLM.
Yeah, XLM. They benefit from a lot of the connections that Ripple has created, and a lot of the
founder was part of the original XRP team.
Correct. A lot of the lobbying that they do, and it actually performs a lot better. So they've got the RWA narrative. I think Stellar is actually a pretty good pick. I don't know where it's top. That's 15 right now, so there's still some room to run. I like Stellar. I like Avalanche as ones that could do well with governments.
Here's a good question: how are they going to publish data on Bitcoin? Doesn't have Chainlink or Pyth. You could do those hash. What do they call it? I don't want to use the wrong language here. Official hashes. They're just doing official hashes. It's basically there's messages that you could put on the blockchain. In fact, Bitcoin's first block has a message on there, and it was quoting. Was it the London Times?
Yeah.
Right. The London Times front page.
That and I think is it Botnex? I'm pretty sure it's the Bitcoin layer 2 that does have some Chainlink connectivity. So that might be where that one came from.
Bitcoin 666th block has like a biblical or Bible passage.
Yeah, you can inscribe whatever you. I mean, that's where the ordinals and all that. You can inscribe any kind of data on the Bitcoin blockchain.
Or ETH, or in fact, sometimes North Korea, they'll hack people and then they'll send messages to the North Korean hackers like, "Please give me my money back." And they'll put it on the hash on ETH network there.
But they're doing a lot of things through Chainlink to bring data on chain and information on chain. And what this will allow is a whole other market of trading to happen based on economic data. It's a huge step forward for the industry in order to actually take smart contracts and real-time global settlement to an insane next level. So it's gonna be good.
Someone's saying, where can we find that? If you just Google Commerce Department, 9 blockchains, you should be able to find the press release fairly easily there.
Yeah, ask Grok. Even if you don't want to Google, just tell Grok to go to the us.gov website and find the information.
And ignore all the anonymous PFPs.
Yeah, don't use X, just use government, us.gov.
So. Thoughts on World Liberty Fi tonight's video? That's going to be tonight's video. In fact, we already have exposure and we're already up. So we're liking what we're doing with that, at least that trade there, at least. Let's look at Chainlink. What are they sharing? Yesterday, we only reported 3 things. Looks like there's 6 macroeconomic data points: real GDP percent change, PCE price index percent change, real final sales to private domestic purchases. We talked about that one, and then also percent change. So it's the 3 data points we talked about yesterday, but they're also doing percent changes. So technically, I just want to correct myself there. It's going to be 6 data points once you count that. Let's talk about the altcoins here. This is all spelling very, very good news for alt season and your portfolio, probably, because a lot of us probably have too little Bitcoin, too many altcoins, and we're wondering when the heck is all these coins going to hit, smash those previous all-time highs. I'm talking about you, Solana, ETH, you're kind of there. So I'm talking about you, Cardano, XRP, you're there, but you need to get back DOT, Cosmos, all these coins here.
Real quick, as you go into this, what do you say to this person here? So what will happen if ETH, if you're saying the bull run may be over? Is ETH done for the cycle? Are you saying the bull run is over?
I'm not saying the bull run is over.
Right.
I'm saying that is what could potentially happen with, a 5, 10, maybe even 15% probability with that breakdown on the death cross.
But right now, you're still
bullish, and I still think,
Bitcoin
gun to my
altcoins.
head, Q1 2026. I know virtual bacon's coming in at the middle of 2026. I'm still like a Q1 guy for now.
Yeah, I'm interested. I might be like a Q4 local top major sell off in, and maybe it runs into like January, February, sell off into next summer, and then maybe a mid to late year rally again in 2026, depending on what happens with interest rates and this Fed board stuff and a lot of other factors. More spending bills coming out. And just for some clarification, I saw some people asking too. We still. The video last night was talking about a leg up for Bitcoin where alts bleed against Bitcoin, not Bitcoin crashing, altcoins crashing, market over. Just to clarify.
Yep. No, it's over, man. It's over. Pack it all up, boys. We're going home. All right, let's talk about altcoins, though. James Seifert posted this. A lot of people have been talking about this. It's actually 93. We'll talk about that in a second. Here's a list of all the filings for crypto ETPs, exchange traded products. This is how we're going to try to find our future altcoin ETFs. Now, this is from a Bloomberg terminal. It's 6 figures to get access to this. But once you zoom in, and I don't know if I'll be able to on this yet. It's so funky trying to look at an individual X post there.
Yeah, usually what we do is you can save the image and then do it, but I wouldn't.
That's right. Open image and new tab. Yep, you're absolutely correct there. That is a move. No, not new window. New tab. There we go. And then this should.
Now, sometimes you actually have to actually download it, but it doesn't matter.
I think this is it. Yeah, we figured it out. We've cracked the case here. I would say there's 2 main things to look at when you're talking about crypto ETFs. One isn't on this list. It's the most guaranteed metric for, this ETF is getting approved. You know where I'm heading with this one, TJ?
Yeah, BlackRock.
BlackRock, once they apply, they're getting approved. Maybe it's in the name, maybe it's in the CEO, maybe they're just that powerful, maybe it's in their lobbying, who knows? But I would say there's another one that's not as accurate or not as foolproof, but it's going to be the Grayscale conversions. I think Grayscale conversions also have a pretty good odds of getting approved. Also, the other thing you can look at is the number of ETPs that are applying here. It's like we were saying, Solana, XRP are going to be the highest. We'll get into that in the article here. So let's just actually jump in. So Solana and XRP, the most sought after crypto assets. Solana has 8 ETF applications. XRP has 7 ETF applications. I think both of these are going to be approved in the next 6 months. Now, Grayscale also looking to convert 5 of their trusts into ETFs. These are trusts that are already ETFs or adjacent. They're ETPs. And so now they're trying to get them into these funds. These are going to be the 5 altcoins: Litecoin, Solana, Dogecoin, XRP, Avalanche. I would say that's going to be another good list here, but you can go check out the list. Any other altcoin that's kind of high on your radar? I would say SWI, Cardano. After that, I don't know.
Yeah, I think a lot of these are set to get approved September, October, or at least that's when their next decision is supposed to be made, whether it gets delayed or approved. I think they usually delay them until the last one. I don't know if they can get delayed again in October or not. Solana, let me see. It's hard for me to see this, but
final deadline here. Let me slide.
Litecoin, that'll get approved. There's a bunch of Solana ones, a bunch of XRP ones. Those will get approved. A lot of the older ones, because if you can look at the kind of framework that they're using, a lot of the older ones that have more time on market, it helps. So XRP, Litecoin, those types of things. They do look at the distribution somewhat. Cardano, that will get approved, like you said, a grayscale rollover. HBAR, that'll probably happen. Scroll further down.
Avalanche, there's a.
I'm trying to see if there's a. Oh, I did see a Say one got filed the other day. I don't know if that's on this list.
That was the 93 that I was talking about.
So that happened, I think, last night.
For me, what's exciting here is just how jam-packed October is.
Right. Yeah.
A whole bunch of stuff in October.
Okay, and it says right there, final deadline. Okay, so they usually push them to the final, and that means most likely we're going to see a huge thing of approvals in, looks like a lot of XRP approvals, a Doge, Solana, and a lot of, I think the Cardano one was October as well. So we'll probably see all sorts of them get approved in October, which would be perfectly in line with what should be a top. We will probably pump. It'll be interesting to see how much of retail buys there versus how much.
What do you think of Bailey's short XRP ETF, TJ?
Need a short XRP ETF?
Yeah, the ETFs that bet on the asset going down.
Why do you need an ETF for that? You just shorted it yourself.
He's just joking.
If you want to short XRP, you can short it. You know, you don't need it. You don't need it.
Yeah, but he wants to do it in his 401k.
Yeah. Okay.
So a little different there. All right. So we talked about those. Yeah, I would also back to BlackRock here. Global asset manager BlackRock dominates the crypto ETF category. They now earn more fees annually from their Bitcoin fund than all their other funds. Why? You know, there are more inflows. There's more volume. You know, the S&P 500 one has definitely more volume here, but the ratios are so different. The Bitcoin expense ratio is 0.25%. The mutual fund ratio is 0.03%. So you can have only 1/8 the volume and you'll make more money with Bitcoin. So that's one of the reasons why BlackRock loves Bitcoin here. Now you're talking about Say, yeah, this is just kind of breaking here. 21 shares has filed for a Say ETF in the US. So I would still be keeping an eye out on Say. Remember, we kind of flipped from bearish to semi-neutral, semi-bullish over the past 2-3 weeks here. So I'm starting to see a little bit of activity on Say. Now, we also got some breaking news with foreign exchanges.
I did. That was big. That's actually really big in my opinion.
It's really big. Why do you think it's really big? I kind of have my own reasons here.
It's taking restrictions off the market. It's opening things. Basically, they're saying we're not going to try to use regulation to pick winners. And more or less, the news was they are not going to restrict foreign exchanges from serving U.S. customers. A lot of foreign exchanges out there these days are, have restrictions on U.S. customers. People have to use VPNs and all that sort of stuff if they want to use their services. They're saying they're removing that. So what that's going to do is remove one more friction point for new users to get in. A lot of people, we see it here in the chat. If you use trade on Blowfin or Binance or LBank or any of these things outside of the US, oftentimes you see a little screen that says, oh, where are you? How old are you? And people will just not use it because they don't, they just don't know that they can. It's just laws against the exchange, not against the individuals. So I think that will, anytime you can remove friction, and realistically what it is, it's just a regulatory bid to say we're not gonna slow you down. We're going to let you kind of run free here for a little while. Now, what foreign exchanges do with that freedom, we'll have to wait and see what happens, but it will probably mean a lot of money flying around. That's my opinion.
Can you do a video on rate cuts impact on Bitcoin? I have done one, and we went back. Shoot, I can't recall. So maybe we do a little dig and I could try to find that video for you. But yeah, I had a long spreadsheet. I remember it was a lot of data points on that one. So, and we just did one on Jackson Hole.
Mm-hmm.
So, that one's actually kind of playing out perfectly.
Yeah, you nailed that. I mean, it was basically like,
I couldn't bring myself to short Bitcoin into it though.
No, I mean, that's a bold move to short Bitcoin in a bear market. But you called it perfectly. day of pumps, we should see some pullbacks. What was it, 2 to 3 weeks? Yeah. And so
then
we're
it
in
finds a little mini bottom, always 7 to 20 days.
okay. So
that's
we're
when it
at
finds that bottom.
7 today. So
Yeah.
we could be bottoming today. We could have 2 more weeks of this, and this is the perfect scenario for TA to line up. It would be fascinating if this whole thing with Cook takes another week or 2 to play out, and then we head into September looking, mid-September, we get rate cuts, get a little relief. I mean, that is perfectly in line with the prediction you put out right after that Jackson Hole thing.
Is Aerodrome doomed?
No.
I open along again. Why? Because I'm a maniac. Now, this time we just did a little bit smaller amount here. I have another entry at 139, which would be sweeping right below here. And then I'll probably do one more smaller entry at 129 right below here. And then if we break down from there, you need to cut and run and just lick your wounds, take your losses. But I don't even know if the 129 is going to register there. So we'll see if we bounce from there. All right, let's talk about these foreign exchanges. Now, yeah, to me, one of the major reasons, there's people who have crypto stuck on these foreign exchange markets. And so, I didn't pull this off KuCoin fast enough. Now it's just kind of stuck. There's probably a path now where KuCoin's going to allow you to reintegrate with your account. And so for me, that's very, very bullish, unless everybody just goes and sell those assets for stablecoin. But to me, awesome move there. Now, CFTC is going to soon issue an advisory clarifying Foreign Board of Trade registration rules. This gives non-U.S. exchanges a path to let Americans trade on their platform. Also going to mean more global liquidity. It's another step towards clarity, and it's a Trump admin crypto sprint win. So good job. I'll give credit where credit's due. Good job, Trump, just making a little bit more pro-crypto environment here. So it's opening the rails for Americans here. Like we said, they have to register under the Foreign Board of Trade framework here, and allowing these can potentially increase liquidity in the crypto markets and remove the silos that kept crypto trapped within regions. This might be good for Tron. Binance, the world's largest exchange by trading volume, it's currently inaccessible. Instead, it operates in a country through a separate entity, Binance US, which is still not available in all states. This keeps US residents in a walled garden of crypto companies eligible to do business in the United States there. So very bullish. Who do you think is going to be the big winner? Is it Binance?
Binance, absolutely. I don't know if you have the
BNB hype chart.
Hype chart, yeah. It's hype got hit. Yep, you ready?
No hands, baby. No hands. CFTC making it illegal for foreign exchanges to serve U.S. customers. Look at the hype chart reaction. Look at the BNB chart reaction.
Mm-hmm.
They are not the same. Nice little inverse correlation there.
Yeah, and how do you say that?
Maharoni
points out we need more likes. We got 200. We have thousands of people in here, only 281 likes. If you like us, even when your bags are down, please hit the like button. You can hit the like button even on red days. It actually helps double. So
yeah. If you like me and you hold Cardano even on the red days and you're still happy, I do appreciate it. So it's like, give me some Cardano hopium.
What do you think about on-chain trading like Hype? Do you think Hype continues to? I mean, obviously, you've got a lot more privacy on something like Hype. A lot of these exchanges require a lot more KYC. I don't know what the KYC requirements are on Hype, but that's a reason for that it will probably continue to flourish. But what do you think long term with these kind of on-chain trading sites versus something like? I mean, obviously, you're going to get better speed and liquidity and that sort of stuff on something like Binance, in my opinion. What do you think?
I think the long-term trend is that Hype BNB chart. I think Hype is going to lose market share as the legal guardrails come down, then anybody can trade. It's going to boil down to the same thing we always see. Who can get me trading with the least amount of button presses? And I don't think it's going to be a decentralized option. I think it is going to be a centralized option. So that's going to be my personal opinion there.
I agree. I think there will always be a place for on-chain trading, but if you're a centralized trader and you need to trade fast with big liquidity and large positions, you're often drawn towards those centralized solutions. But I would still be hesitant to put millions of dollars on a foreign exchange just in case it gets frozen, like what that guy experienced with MEXC.
Yeah, they're going to say, North Korea hacker used your account or something like that. No one wants anything like that. All right, let's talk about just a quick brief outline on the Japanese bond market. This is like a 4-hour breakdown if I was going to do everything, but I have like the nice 30-second assessment here. So Japan's bond market just flashed the weakest signal 16 years. 2-year government bond auction collapsed. This could ripple into the U.S. rates, mortgages, and the entire Fed outlook. Now, again, I'm just going to do the brief outline here. So if you don't know what a government bond is, it's like an IOU. Investors lend money to the government. In return, they get interest plus repayment at maturity. In Japan, they're called JGBs, Japanese government bonds. In the U.S., they're treasuries. It's the foundation of each country's finances. So now we're kind of laying the groundwork. The auction was for 2-year Japanese treasuries. This means Japan borrows today and pays investors back in 2 years. These short bonds usually high demand because banks use them as collateral and they're considered very safe. So that's why what we see happening here is so alarming. Now, it talks about the bid ratio here. We're not going to get into that. Okay, so at the latest sell, the bid to cover ratio was 2.84. Bid to cover is people trying to buy it versus the one asset for sale. So this would be 2.84 people trying to buy the one Charizard foil. And so at the latest sale, God dang it. This thing is so finicky here. So the latest sale, the ratio was 2.84. Last month, it was 4.47. 12-month average, 4.01. So there's usually 4 people trying to buy the Charizard card. As of now, there's only 2 and some change. This is the weakest demand since 2009 during the global financial crisis. Investors weren't lining up. For a country used to cheap funding, major red flag. Now you can see the chart right here. This is going to be the 09. This is going to be the economic collapse there. That's where the yield rates, which just went totally parabolic. So maybe this could be a warning sign of impending just global turmoil here. Let's keep scrolling. Like I said, we're going to do the brief outline. All right, this is the next one I want to share. So now for the first time in 48 years, the Japanese inflation is running hotter than the U.S. Let me say that again. Japan's inflation is hotter than the U.S. for the first time in 48 years. Now, for decades, Japan's the poster child for cheap money and low inflation. Now it's exporting inflation risk abroad. You can see the chart right there. They're always, except for that little brief thing there. Wait, he's lying to me here. So this is the first time in 48 years, core inflation higher than the U.S. So not great there. And we scroll towards the end here. This is the last part I want to share. So many charts. This spills over globally. Why? They're the world's largest government bond market, meaning there's way more treasuries in this market than anywhere else. So treasuries are not immune. So when these Japanese yields rise, the U.S. must often raise their own yields to remain competitive. So when a foreign bank is trying to buy some treasuries or JGBs, we got to compete with each other. And so as Japanese goes up, that means we got to go up. So that means when you buy $100 of our debt, now we're increasing the debt load even further because we have to pay more interest on this. Now, treasuries are, we already said that. Now, this is how they hedge. So if Bank of Japan hikes, hedging gets more expensive. And I just want to share the last post here. Higher U.S. yields feed directly into mortgages, 10-year treasury yields. So when treasuries rise, mortgages rise too. And essentially, big assessment here. Bottom line, the 2-year bond auction, weakest since 2009, isn't just about Tokyo. Inflation is now hotter than the U.S. Insurers are shifting away from treasuries. Capital basically going abroad or leaving the country. And the ripple effects will hit U.S. yields, housing, and the Fed. So not enough people are talking about this Japanese collapse. But you saw what happened with that yen carry trade. Because it's such a large market, the ripple effects of the Japanese economy are much greater than its GDP would just normally signify.
Well, yeah, and there's a lot of people tied up in this thing. It's funny you mentioned this. I was talking about, and I would highly recommend anybody who's watching this, if you need something new to watch on Netflix. I rarely get a chance to watch TV these days. But just so happened last night, my wife was sick, so she went to bed early, got the daughter down, and I'm about to sneeze. This show, it's Titans, The Rise of Wall Street.
Titans, The Rise of Wall Street on Netflix.
On Netflix, and there's a lot of really fascinating stuff about the beginning days of banking in the U.S. and industry and railroads and all that sort of stuff. But what was interesting to me, one thing that for some reason this thought had never occurred to me, is that every time a government is selling, maybe not every time, but oftentimes when governments are selling bonds, they're using a broker to facilitate that sale, and that broker is making a commission. And so, like, we're talking about all these billions and billions of dollars, maybe even trillions of dollars in this bond market of getting bought and sold, whether it's Japan, whether it's US, no matter who it is, they're using a bank to facilitate these sales. And even if the bank knows, oh, this is risky, I would never put my money in this, but I can sell it. I can get somebody else to put their money in it. Then
Yeah,
I
I'll get
earn risk.
Michigan Plumbers Pension Board to buy it.
Exactly. Then I get free money. I get risk-free commission that I go then take that money and turn around and put into something else. And so and that really frames things in a totally different light. The incentives now are very high. The incentives for banks to convince governments to take on more debt so that they can turn around and sell it to earn a commission is very high. And it's how most of them have built their fortunes over time and and that's why war profiteering is a real thing, because you can sell a ton of bonds when you're in wartime. So it's fascinating now that you have that framework and that framing to know what's going on with stuff like this. And obviously they're incentivized to keep putting us into more debt. They don't care about our kids' generation. And now we're the ones dealing with the inflation. We're the ones carrying all that debt. Bitcoin is the only way out. This is why we talk about Bitcoin all the time on this channel. This is why the only way I've found in my lifetime to get outside of this system that's just inflating away and passing on debt to future generations is to buy Bitcoin. I hope you all do that. That's the main reason we're here every single day, is to help you guys escape the crushing debt and inflation cycle we've been in for decades.
All right, let me give you a little call to action. If you've seen Netflix's series Titans of Wall Street, give us a ranking out of 10. Is it a 1 out of 10? Is it a 10 out of 10? 7 out of 10? TJ, what's your out of 10 ranking for?
Well, I haven't watched the whole thing yet. So,
Okay.
So far, I've only seen like I think one episode, maybe part of the second one, but I've loved it. I don't, out of 10, it's context. I don't watch a lot of like docu-series. It's a history docu live reenactment kind of thing, but I put it up, 7, maybe 7 or 8.
I would say Ken Burns documentaries are a great starting point if you want something that's knowledgeable, rich in history, and well put together. And it's won several Oscars. He has a lot of them. I would recommend starting with Vietnam. It's a little bit old. It's a little bit fairly newish. It's within the last century there. So I would say start with that one.
12. This guy says 10, 9. Yeah. So there you go. Maybe I ranked it a little low, but it reminded me, I watched one about Bernie Madoff and that whole thing. It's similar-ish to that.
I'm still waiting for the FTX docuseries and all those going to come out. Those are going to be great. Now, speaking of that Japanese auction, I think there's some governors maybe leaning on their state treasury boards to buy Bitcoin, and we got another one. This one, Florida, $205 billion Florida State Retirement Fund reveals a $80 million allocation into MicroStrategy. So another state buying Bitcoin. That's their seal. It's a lot going on there. Is that supposed to be the fountain of youth or something? Oh, no, that's the conquistadors coming down to slay the wheelless people that don't have written language. Kind of a slaughter. That was kind of a slaughter there when they got conquered. All right, let's talk about silver.
It usually is a slaughter when somebody gets conquered.
Yeah, when you haven't invented written language, you don't have a wheel, you don't really haven't mastered metallurgy. You're kind of a savage, warring group of people. Yeah, you're gonna get wrecked by the Europeans.
And the other guys have guns. Yeah, you're in trouble.
You're getting wrecked there, man. You're getting wrecked. Also, specifically the Aztec, when you've pissed off every single neighbor to the extent where they're like, oh yeah, I'm gonna totally work with these Spaniards. Maybe you should have been nicer to your neighbors there. Maybe you shouldn't have stolen all their children and sacrificed.
So there you go. You heard it. You heard it from DZ. Be a good neighbor. It pays well in the future.
Be a good neighbor. Ken Burns documentary on Vietnam. Great. Hard agree here. All right. Now back to silver. Oh, kind of tying all together to the conquistadors here. They came for those precious metals. Let's talk about silver and gold. 31-year cup formation on silver, followed by an 11-year handle. Remember, it was a decade or so ago that gold cup and handle was well below 2,000 an ounce and, helped them stay bullish. And now we all know what followed. Basically, we're setting up a repeat for silver. Now, also another really interesting silver chart is still silver entering beast mode. Upside breakouts from the so-called quote-unquote bearish rising wedges are more common than you might imagine in strong bull markets. Yes, it doesn't break down 100% of the time. In a strong uptrend, it's kind of acts as a consolidation range. They can signal the start of a blow-off type move to the next interim top. Silver likely to hit above 200 for that interim top. Now, it's not 11-year cup and handle. I don't even know how they came up with that. You could kind of just see, all right, that's 8. The middle is going to be around 10. I mean, it's more like a 14. This is beyond 11 years, essentially. This is the massive cup and handle that started January 1980. 80, older than most, the disco fam, older than myself. Huge cup formation. We have broken out of the handle on the monthly chart. Let's get back into this. Let's zoom in on this. So for this one, we have to go to a line chart. Let's find line. And yeah, this is signaling. This is not exactly a short-term timeline because we're looking at months. This is February 24. This is May 24. So since May 24, we've been in this range and we have decisively broken out in a, it's a soup bowl, not a cup. We have decisively broken out to the upside here. So, I mean, are we looking at a $200 silver, TJ? I've been saying it for a long time. This silver gold ratio is going to flip, folks.
Yeah, it is. I think we're in the golden age of commodities. So gold on the rise, Bitcoin being a commodity, silver being a commodity. I think that's the safest place. I mean, you got your top 7 securities to get into, the tech companies that are outperforming everything else, but realistically, they're carrying the whole S&P 500 up largely. There's definitely good ones. MicroStrategy, maybe not a bad one if you want a security rather than actually holding the Bitcoin yourself. But realistically, being pro commodity, this is like something that the world actually needs and has, and there's markets for it. It's not a company based product. I think we're in the golden era, and some could argue we never left that. It was always been about commodity. He who has the gold makes the rules, so to speak. So yeah, I think silver has been in a long-term accumulation, famously being suppressed by JP Morgan. And that's the other thing that comes back to that series, understanding the way JP Morgan, because it starts a
They had to
lot.
pay giant fines for this. I don't know if they had to admit wrongdoing, but they were caught manipulating the price.
Oh yeah, they've been caught doing a lot of this stuff. But what's interesting, it's the very beginning of JP Morgan from when he's a child, and he doesn't really, before it was even JP Morgan, it was called, I think, J Morgan or something. His dad was Julius. And just their mindset on how they use stuff. I think one of his quotes is, "I owe the public nothing," so to speak. So their job is to collect as much as they can, and they're pretty good at it. So it's really interesting.
All right. Someone saying it was Caleb Franzen with this post. Oh, actually, people, y'all got strong opinions on this Indian stuff. This is a great point. They didn't have horses. You just had to walk places there. And someone saying, no, they destroyed their ancient knowledge. Well, they didn't have knowledge except for oratory knowledge. It was a verbal communication for when it came to teaching the youth. And it would be an elder sitting around a campfire. And yeah, he would explain, some of their origin stories. But when you don't have written language, pretty easy to, I don't know what kind of knowledge, quote unquote, we're losing there. But let's talk about gold versus Bitcoin. I wanted to do the reverse. Maybe I'll show both. Bitcoin versus gold. Saying he can smell the breakout, can't you? So this is just basically suggesting, gold has risen, but now maybe a reversal. This is the inverse chart. Look at that. This is gold bleeding to Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's saying, another potential downward movement. I was going to say, I must be on log here. All right. That looks a lot more. Yeah, that looks nuts, right? Yeah. So it's actually been semi-flat since 2014. Here, let's do this. Oh, geez.
Can't even do it. Yeah.
Yeah. Massive moves there. So there we go.
There you go.
Yeah. This is, quite a crazy chart, though. I will say that. Now, is it going to break to the downside? I mean, no one knows for certain, but I mean, it does make sense for me to gold to lose value to Bitcoin over time, although it has done very, very well since April 2021.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It did front run it a little bit, and so I'm sure that's what he's looking at. Gold went on a little bit more. I mean, they've both been on a pretty strong bull run since anytime you're in a major money printing environment, and both things with set supply are going to run well. And gold has been kind of the leader, and I do think Bitcoin is ready to close that gap a little bit.
Yeah, so I mean, it's almost like a price discovery to the downside. It's going to be interesting to watch there. All right, let's talk about some altcoins here. You see the helium news?
No.
Madison Airport in Wisconsin now live on the Helium network. It's given travelers and staff seamless coverage while we create new ways for airports to turn connectivity into an asset. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
Let's check in on the token.
Yeah.
That's a common thing you see. I did want to share this. Where is it? It is 2:24 p.m. yesterday. 2:24 p.m. yesterday. It's 2:27 p.m. yesterday. Just immediately starts dumping after that post. It crabbed a little higher, and then the bears just took control there. So I just wanted to point out, yeah, the post right there. This is a thing you're going to see in the crypto markets. I can't do the next. Okay, 22. You'll see a bull post, and you'll immediately want to go long that asset. It's going to wreck you. So just be careful with that strategy, folks. There's people watching these types of things, and the market makers will shake you out of your crypto. Do not let them shake you out of your crypto, especially when it comes to Chainlink. Chainlink, freest trade ever. Long your longs. This is looking at the tops, and yeah, we have came back. We're testing the range here. I do think this flips into support sooner rather than later. I do not. If I were to say how far do we go down, you might test that range. Does this actually hit over there too? Yeah, I mean, the more data points, a little bit stronger confluence there. I would maybe watch for a bounce off this range. I'll keep this line on here. So we'll continue to track this.
Kelly makes a good point. The ETFs went live and it was pumping really hard into it and then crashed for 12 days. It's a perfect example of what DZ was just talking about.
Yep. And we covered that with the Bitcoin ETFs all the way back in January 2024. I remember doing a show with Scott Melker. We went back and looked at gold ETFs. Same exact story played out.
Yeah.
It's almost like the story just keeps rhyming. It just keeps repeating here. And that story is the whales are extracting money from the guppies and the shrimps. Just swim with the whales. And then we're all going to be winning, folks. You might be winning holding on to ETH. The bullish megaphone has a target of a $10,000 Ethereum, but you would not believe it. Now, this is going to be a dubious chart because we are going to be using a log chart here. But the megaphone, also known as a broadening formation, represents widening price swings with higher highs and lower lows. A confirmed breakout above resistance often leads to explosive rallies, but it can also turn bearish if momentum stalls, aka, you might end up coming down, test the bottom of the range. Now, Merlin emphasized that the possibility of a bullish breakout, pointing that ETH has a dense sell wall near 5,100. Ostensibly, this is going to be the kind that level that whales are going to dream about. Now, he expects liquidity at the zone to act as a magnet, torching those over-leveraged shorts. You want to play the hunter, not the hunted. It's also just a good way of reiterating what I said. You want to swim with the whales, not get eaten by the whales. And saying the whales could drive price into that liquidity pocket. Now, according to Ecoinometrics here, despite the recent outperformance, still correlated to Bitcoin. The correlation's telling a different story. Over the past 5 years, correlation with Bitcoin averages above 0.8, and today still right around that level. And you kind of see the difference there. ETH is on the top, Bitcoin, and in a weird way, swinging more lately here over the past few years. I guess that, yeah, it kind of front ran the news, so that's why that chart looks there. But let's actually do this chart. There is actually a way to measure this. Now, of course, this doesn't work 100% of the time. I think there's other traders who do different metrics here, but you normally will pump 60% of this line. I don't even want to say normal. This is just one of the more common metrics that people look at. 60% of the megaphone line. So let's go ahead and just say this is roughly 50%. Because we're on a log chart, it's actually hard to measure. Let's just go, this is roughly 50, roughly. And then we'll go an extra 10%. We'll say it's about like that, about 1/5 of the bottom. And that gives us $12,000 Ethereum. I think he just did the 50 point, which gave him the $10,000 Ethereum there. So either way, 50% of the line, 60% of the line, very, very bullish. Now let's be credible here though. Let's go to the regular chart. I don't even know what it looks like. Okay, so now we're talking a lot more normal. Now it's just almost bearish looking. This doesn't even look like a breakout almost. Now 7,000. That ain't nothing to shake a stick at, TJ.
No. Yeah, I think that 8 to 12 seems to be the main range for Ethereum that people are calling for. We've been talking about $8,000 Ethereum since 2022, and I think that's extremely probable that we see an $8,000 Ethereum soon. And I would not rule out a $10,000 Ethereum. But let us know in the chat. 1, if you think we hit 10, because I know we did this yesterday with 12. 2, if you think we fall short of 10. So 1, Ethereum goes to 10K. 2, we're in that 7-8K range. I'm curious to see what our chat thinks. I know I'm a little biased. I'm very heavy ETH still. I still think it's time for the majors. Okay, some 1s, some 2s. Yeah, let me see. So it's a lot of 50-50 so far. Wow, a lot of
50-50.
Coming in about 50-50.
All right, well, there you go. The markets are mixed. The markets are mixed. Now, let's talk about Avalanche. Avalanche leading. Oh, this is what I want to share. We talked about 2 stories yesterday when I said this feels like manipulation. This feels a little weird. This is making me feel a little hinkly in my neck hairs here. Avalanche was one of the ones I talked about. TJ, remember what I said? We did a little bit of a deep dive on that network
on the
activity?
transactions. Yeah,
It was all a handful of wallets spamming transactions.
yeah.
Less than 24 hours later, they're citing that metric in bull posts on major leading crypto publications. So, is it all connected? I'm going to say potentially. This is a potential manipulation to try to get you bullish on Avalanche. Maybe one flush to the downside. Just something I want to share here. We kind of said, this looks a little weird. And then they're citing the weird data. The other thing I mentioned was, remember China backed out of the Trump speaking at the Bitcoin conference?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, oh, Eric Jr. or Eric's going to be there. We better pull back. Well, let's listen to what Eric then later said. Praises China's role in Bitcoin and says, oh no, Beijing, man, you and us, we're leading the way. We're leading the way. So I him seem a little pro-China there. Is that why he's so sweaty, you think?
It's probably just hot.
I'm sure it's just that. It's probably a lot of people in that room.
Lights.
Asia doesn't have the affinity for air conditioning that Americans have, or
Nobody in the world has the
Nobody
affinity
does.
for air conditioning as we do. Period. Probably why we're not healthy. We don't sweat enough.
Maybe. We're just full of like Dorito ingredients.
Oh God.
Hot dog, bun, preservatives. You ever see those videos? They like dip a slice of bread in water and they're like wringing it out like the Downy super paper towel.
We're the best at finding a way to make waste products.
We're the best at poisoning children.
Yeah, and ourselves. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the CDC had fluoride as one of the best breakthroughs in health on their website. Their top 10 biggest achievements within health. Fluoride was one of them.
They said the same thing about lead.
Yeah.
Lead. Oh man, it makes paint so much better.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that's it. That is our show for today. Thank you for joining everybody. We're going to put out a World Liberty 5 video. Now remember, we bought publicly for 25 cents. We got in at a fairly good price. Right now, the price checking in, you can see it's around 29 cents. So the video is going to have a little bit of a lower entry price, but I still think it's a pretty good entry getting in below 30 cents. Remember, the late whales paid 25 cents a token. The early whales, 1.5 pennies a token, but they really didn't do that many sales at that price. Now, the sell pressure might be a lot because, 300 million at 1.5 pennies, it's 25 cents. That's a lot of tokens, but still, I would go watch that video if you want to learn more about the World Liberty Fi token ecosystem. Go check that out 100%.
User MQ4X P1GGQ3Q. Stay safe out there, buddy.
I was talking to you.
Eating Doritos right now. Everybody have a great weekend. We're going to be live later this afternoon with Drew and Kelly. I did see your questions talking about our take on September. We've talked about it a decent amount, but next week we'll definitely pick that up as we head into September and give our outlook. Stay safe out there. Hit that like button on your way out. Call your mom. Do something nice for somebody else. It's not all about making money, guys. You got to do something good in the world too. We'll see you guys soon. We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.